I do hope you're having a good one. I'd like to show you at least 5 things that will help you with the 6 P's in any successful purge leveled 1 to 10. What are the 6 P's? Well, it's proper preparation prevents piss poor purges. And among all this, there'll also be lots of little bonus things, little hints and tips just to help you along. So, without further ado, let's give it a go. Well, first of all, obviously you want tier 3 building materials because they are the strongest, but as I've proven in my last video, I'll put a link in the description, a tier 1 built base can hold out against a level 10 purge as long as the planets are all aligned and the gods are on your side. That meaning you've got no golems and you've got no star callers and just a few good men and women to have your back. First of all, kill zones to keep the enemies contained where the archers can do as much damage as possible. As you can see here is a large kill zone, but they don't always have to be this big, because somewhere as small as this can be just as effective. 6 archers, 6 thralls, you'll have no problem, as long as they're all good and leveled up. Somewhere this small is brilliant if you've got yourself 1 archer with heals, such as this one, who can drop a heal in the middle and keep your thralls nice and healed, just keep them ticking over. And also, as the enemy come in through the door just here, pop yourself a cheeky little gas arrow, basically causing damage before your thralls even get anywhere near him. Which brings me on to the second point. The second point of the base itself is choke points. All you need is a doorway, like this, and a heavily armed thrall. Personally, I prefer to give them 2-handed weapons, such as like hammers, 2-handed swords, because it's got more of an AoE than, say, your single-handed weapons, and especially your agility weapons, unless you've got Beck de Corbin, like this. And the third point of the base is controlling movement. Things such as a cattle maze, like this one here, which is a variant of one of my previous videos. It's just a little larger, you've still got the kill zone, you've got your archers doing all the damage. And while I'm here, since the arrival of golems in Chapter 4, a little buffer between your main base, like this, and the golems, if you build a outer protective wall, it'll just give you that little bit more time to get rid of them, especially the boom boy golems, whose heads fall off and start to destroy absolutely everything. And furthermore, if you get foundation outcrops like these little bits and bobs here, these will attract said boom boy golems and give you just that little more time, and it's probably a lot cheaper than encircling your entire base. Another level of protection's never a bad thing. This will only be required generally at level 6 purge when the golems do start coming for you. Number 2, siege cauldrons. These little gems are right useful in purges, especially if you have surplus barkeeps, because you can just stick them on there and you've not particularly wasted a decent thrall. With the siege cauldrons, basically you want the tar to slow them and the fire to burn them. You want the enemies to spend as much time in the fire as possible, and also drop yourself a cheeky little gas arrow down where they're all congregating, more and more damage, jobs are good 'un. And while they're being burnt and poisoned, your archers at the back here are just peppering them with arrows. This tactic works brilliantly with the cattle maze, because it's making them go where you want them to go, and you're funneling them straight through the tar, the fire, the gas. And a little bonus one, when the fire does drop, it not only affects this channel of the cattle maze, but also this one. Damage all around. Jobs are good 'un. Number 3, the defenders. Let's start off with the archers. Ideally, you'll have these archer posts that you can slot your archers on so they won't move anywhere. To be honest, they're unnecessary, because all you have to do, go to your archer, select them, and in the new behaviour perk you want them on hold, and you want their attack distance up to 40 meters. I know it says that the chase distance is also 40 meters, but you've also got them on hold, so they're not going to go anywhere, and have the guarding behaviour on aggressive. Next of all, not all archers are strength based. As you see here, the Black Dragon Master Archer is actually an agility based archer, so I've equipped her accordingly. Agility damage weapons, and the buffs from the armour are all agility weapon damages. And also what can be handy is dropping a couple of buffs from the pot and one from the food. And just remember, you have to tell them to actually use it, otherwise it won't work. So if we look here, as you can see, the effects from the food, effects from the pots, plus the sated 8-point healing every 3 seconds, which is always handy. And here again, we have Lysera, who is actually a strength weapon damage archer. I've also equipped her accordingly. Strength weapon, and although she looks like she's wearing the medium Pictish armour, it's been transmogged with my usual strength weapon damage. Right, same goes for the fighters. Not all fighters are strength based. Here we have Cormag Beastblood. I've equipped him again accordingly. Forge Light and the strength weapon damage armour. This time I've used Exotic Feast for the strength weapon buff, and either the Elixir of Might or the Grey Lotus Potion. Yeah, again, as you can see, lots of buffing, and the You Are Feeling Tips thing doesn't do anything to thralls, so just ignore that bit. As for the settings on your fighters, you do want them at the minimal follow, attack and chase distance, because they will bugger off and get themselves killed. On the combat tactics this time, you want the chase and the guard behaviour as aggressive, so that they will attack anybody. Put them on passive or defensive, it's not going to work. Passive, they'll stand there and get the absolute granny knocked out on them and not do anything. Defensive, they'll do bugger all until they're attacked. So go aggressive all the way. One thing I will now point out is that since the update of Chapter 4, the thrall pots seem to be working again. So instead of spending all them resources on the expensive foods, just use them for buffs and fill this up with gruel, which is still a half decent food for healing. Number 4. Basically, it's you and the things that personally I like to carry when I'm going to begin a purge. First of all, normally I like to take a few extra heals than I normally would, because things can get a bit daft when it comes to level 10 purges, and you can find yourself in Shitsville quite quickly. Which brings me on to a small bonus tip. Have yourself a bed very close to your base. There was one instance that I took a meteorite to the face, which killed me and destroyed my bed, and I basically ended up right back at the beginning, as we all know, somewhere about here. So it was a long run to get back to the Purge base. And without saying, I like to have my exquisite salted meat because I'm running the agility build. For the buff, bit of water because it gets a bit warm in desert. And if I'm taking a couple of thralls into battle with me, I like to take the purple lotus potion, sorry Angar, and or the Tears of Gulla, which both give you the follower damage. Next, I always like to take a plethora of arrows. Always after level 6 star metal arrows. Like I say, if you can equip them on your archers as well, all the better for dealing with golems with. I also like to take the noxious gas arrows, because when you're in a situation like I mentioned earlier, the choke points, a cheeky gas arrow there will damage them as they're coming in, and then the enemies will start to cluster around the fire pots. So just pop a couple there. But don't give your archers any noxious gas arrows, because they'll just fire them willy-nilly and you'll waste them, because they will only work certain distance apart. But always make sure you've got a couple left towards the end of the purge, especially in level 9, level 10, when the Star Caller comes. Next, I like to have the explosive arrows for if the Star Caller does come, and make sure you got your trusty pick with you, because you want to be harvesting any star metal that drops, because let's face it, who doesn't want this copious amount of star metal in their lives? So next up, healing arrows, because when things do go a bit peat, it's nice just to be able to pop a healing arrow just when you need it, not relying on the one archer that you may have armed with healing arrows. And just an FYI, you don't always have to keep the explosive arrows on you if you're feeling a bit overweight. Just pop them into a chest, and after the purge is over, retrieve them and retrieve yourself some star metal. One thing I do like to do as you can see, is I have multiple bows, so I'm not switching between the star metal, the noxious gas, and the healing arrows. It just makes things a lot easier than faffing about in the middle of battle and getting your arse handed to you. As you may have noticed, I do have the fire spark arrow and the snake arrow, which is poison damage. These, combined with the noxious arrow, are my way of getting rid of the star caller, and for that purpose I like to build a ring around the outside, elevated off the floor, so that wherever the base may spawn, you've got a chance of spotting him. If you don't, you've got to take it upon yourself, go and hunt him out and kill him before he starts dropping a load of pain down on you and your friends. The reason I've got these, the fire spark, the snake arrow and the noxious gas, is probably quite obvious. I want to put one on each, and that little thing over there in the distance is what generally the star caller will spawn on. So first of all, you want to drop a noxious gas arrow on him and try not to miss, because obviously he will be stood there. Then hit him with the fire spark, hit him with the venomous arrow. So all this time he's getting poisoned and bleeding out, but the fire sparks don't stack, so you only get the one bleed damage. And return to your trusty arrow of choice and pepper the ever-loving hell out of him. And before you know it, he'll be on his arse flat out. Basically, rinse and repeat as required, which, to be honest, there ain't much rinse and repeat about it. Once he's been gassed, poisoned, bleeding, pincushioned, yeah, he's not having a good day of it. So one other thing I would like to point out, it's nothing about base defense, but it is a nice little thing. Build yourself a dismantling bench if possible, because you know all that crap that you leave behind in the chests, the pictures and the ornaments and the furniture, stuff like that. If you stick it in the dismantling bench, you can come up with an absolute metric ton of gubbins, which will also help you improve your base, build those extra foundations for catching the boom boy golems. Jobs are good and on that one. Right, well there you go. There's a few tips and tricks to help you along your purging journey. I'm not saying this is all gospel, but it's a few things that have helped me along the way. To be quite honest, more successful than not. And if it's helped you, I feel like I've done a job well done. So anyway, please do me a favour and give those buttons at the bottom of the screen a little tickle. You know the ones to like, the share and the subscribe. Happy purging, take it steady, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.